The first signs of the alien fleet's advance were detected by Earth's deep space monitoring arrays long before any official announcement could be made, and the humans on duty felt a mixture of apprehension and determination as the screens displayed hundreds of unknown vessels moving at speeds that even the most advanced human ships could barely hope to match. Yet despite the disparity in numbers and technology, the initial response was calm and organized, with Admiral Lucas Harrington coordinating the fleet from the command center in orbit around Mars, his voice steady over the communications channels as he issued precise orders to every captain and officer, emphasizing the need to hold formation, protect civilian transports, and monitor the enemy for weaknesses, while back on Earth, political leaders, scientists, and military strategists convened in the International Defense Council to assess what had begun to appear inevitable, the consensus clear that humanity had been underestimated and that the only way to survive was to exploit every advantage, from superior human adaptability to unorthodox tactics that no alien mind could predict. Engineers worked tirelessly to recalibrate human ships, adapting experimental propulsion systems and energy shields in ways that defied conventional space warfare doctrine, while ground-based defense units reinforced orbital stations and missile platforms in preparation for attacks that were predicted to be swift and devastating. And yet amidst the chaos and looming fear, there was a palpable sense of unity as civilians volunteered for evacuation, medical personnel trained for orbital deployment, and scientists coordinated with the military to provide rapid analysis of alien technology, all of which contributed to a growing confidence that humans had something the invaders could not account for. Ingenuity born from centuries of struggle against their own limitations, a capacity to improvise, and an unyielding drive to survive and thrive against impossible odds. And as the first wave of alien scouts entered the outer solar system, the human fleet, smaller by every conventional measure, held position with precision, waiting for the moment to strike, when Lieutenant Sarah Monroe, commanding a squadron of advanced interceptors, reported an anomaly in the alien formation, a pattern in their approach that suggested overconfidence and a predictable attack vector. And this observation was relayed immediately to Harrington, who saw an opening for a tactical counterstrike that could disorient the enemy and give humanity its first chance to demonstrate resilience, while simultaneously, on the alien command vessel, Supreme Chancellor Varkon observed the human forces with dismissive curiosity, believing that the species had reached its technological limits and that any resistance would be short-lived, underestimating entirely the depth of human resourcefulness and the unpredictability of their strategies. And when Harrington gave the order to engage, human ships accelerated in coordinated bursts, using gravitational slingshots around planets and debris fields to mask their approach, striking alien scout ships with precision laser volleys that disabled key systems without provoking total retaliation. And as the initial skirmish unfolded, it became painfully clear to both sides that humanity's ability to adapt in real time, to think beyond rigid protocols, and to utilize unconventional tactics would make them a far more dangerous opponent than the aliens had ever imagined. And this realization set the tone for the conflict to come, a war not merely of numbers or firepower, but of wits, strategy, and the unbreakable human spirit. And while the alien fleet regrouped in confusion, sending frantic signals to one another and attempting to reassert control, Harrington coordinated the next maneuvers, exploiting every weakness revealed in the enemy's formation. And as reports of damaged alien vessels and confused patrols came in, morale across the human fleet surged, proving that even in the face of overwhelming odds, humans were not merely surviving, but shaping the battlefield to their advantage. And throughout the solar system, from orbital stations to surface command centers, every person involved in the defense felt a renewed sense of purpose, an understanding that history was watching them, and that the galaxy's miscalculation in underestimating humanity might soon be one of the most consequential errors ever made. And so as night fell across Earth and the stars glimmered in distant orbits, the first human salvo against a superior alien force had been fired, sending shockwaves through enemy communications and establishing a precedent for the relentless and unpredictable fight humanity would wage to secure not only survival, but dominance among the stars. As the alien fleet reeled from the unexpected human assault, analysts aboard the flagship Endeavour tracked patterns of confusion spreading through enemy ranks, while Admiral Lucas Harrington, studying real-time data feeds, orchestrated a series of rapid maneuvers that leveraged the human ship's superior agility and sensor networks. And on the front lines, Captain Marcus Bell of the fighter wing initiated a daring flanking maneuver through an asteroid belt, using the terrain to mask his squadron's approach in striking isolated alien vessels with pinpoint precision, causing cascading malfunctions as the invaders struggled to adapt, their communications flooded with conflicting commands and misinterpreted signals. And back on Earth, the civilian population watched anxiously as news of the initial skirmishes filtered through. But rather than despair, there was a collective determination, a recognition that humanity's survival demanded courage, discipline, and the unshakable will to resist. And scientists in orbital laboratories pushed experimental weapon systems to their limits, testing plasma arrays, high-energy rail cannons, and adaptive shield modulation against live data from the battlefield, knowing that every enhancement could tip the balance against the numerically superior alien forces. And deep within the alien command structure, Supreme Chancellor Varkon convened an emergency council, their arrogance shattered by the resilience and tactical brilliance of the humans they had dismissed, arguing amongst themselves over flawed strategies and misjudged calculations, while human forces continued to exploit every hesitation, executing feints, ambushes, and rapid retreats designed to lure alien cruisers into disadvantageous positions. And Lieutenant Sarah Monroe, interpreting enemy movements with intuitive precision, directed her squadron to intercept a critical supply convoy, disabling key vessels and sowing further chaos. And this action reverberated across the battlefield as alien commanders struggled to maintain cohesion, while human forces, coordinated with unerring discipline, adapted continuously to evolving threats, employing unconventional tactics that alien minds, trained in rigid hierarchies and predetermined protocols, could not anticipate. While on the ground, Earth's military and engineering teams prepared contingency plans to support orbital operations, deploying drone fleets, automated repair units, and emergency logistics to maintain the human offensive. And as the day progressed, reports of damaged alien vessels and failed maneuvers multiplied, proving that humanity, though outnumbered, was far from helpless, and that their combination of ingenuity, flexibility, and unbreakable spirit was creating a strategic ripple effect that no alien commander could fully contain. And through every engagement, every calculated risk, and every daring strike, it became increasingly evident that the invaders had gravely underestimated the tenacity and resourcefulness of humanity, a miscalculation that would only grow more catastrophic as the humans refined their tactics, adapted their technology, and demonstrated time and again that they were not merely fighting to survive, but determined to dominate, to reshape the galaxy's perception of their species, and to leave no doubt that those who mocked Earth and its inhabitants would come to regret it profoundly. And as night fell across the human positions in orbit and on the planets below, the first wave of victories, however small, had instilled a fierce confidence, a sense that humanity's fight had only just begun. Yet already, the tide of the battle was shifting, the underdogs rising with unstoppable momentum, and the galaxy had begun to realize that they were dealing not with primitive species, but with a force that would not be denied, a force defined by creativity, courage, and a relentless refusal to yield under pressure. And as Harrington prepared the next series of strikes, coordinating across the entire solar system, he understood that every move, every calculated risk, and every human life committed to the fight was part of a larger strategy, one that would not only defend their homeworld, but challenge the very foundations of galactic power and prove that humans, though outnumbered, were unstoppable in their pursuit of survival and supremacy among the stars. The following days saw the human fleet executing a series of increasingly audacious operations, pushing the alien forces further into disarray as Admiral Harrington coordinated multi-pronged attacks that leveraged both advanced technology and human intuition, while Captain Marcus Bell led daring deep space raids that intercepted supply lines, disabled alien communications relays, and captured critical intelligence that revealed the weaknesses in the invaders' fleet formations. And aboard Earth, scientists and engineers worked tirelessly, analyzing recovered alien schematics and rapidly implementing modifications to human ships' weapon systems and shield configurations, allowing them to exploit vulnerabilities that no one could have predicted. And as the human forces gained confidence, they began using psychological tactics as well, broadcasting signals that mimicked alien command codes, triggering confusion and panic within the enemy ranks, while every small victory reinforced the humans' understanding that their ingenuity was their greatest weapon, a force multiplier that turned numerical inferiority into tactical advantage. And across the alien hierarchy, Supreme Chancellor Varkin's frustration grew as reports of repeated failures, miscommunications, and unanticipated human maneuvers reached their ears, each one a painful reminder that they had gravely underestimated the species they had assumed would crumble under pressure and back into human command centers. Admiral Harrington emphasized coordinated adaptability, insisting that no plan should be rigid, that every officer and pilot had to think independently, while remaining aligned to the overall strategy, and this approach began to show dramatic results as human squadrons exploited flanking opportunities, drew enemy vessels into traps, and executed high-speed assaults that alien ships, designed for methodical and predictable engagements, could not counter, while on the planets below, Earth's population continued to support the war effort with ingenuity and resilience, manufacturing supplies, constructing orbital defense arrays, and coordinating emergency protocols that ensured civilian safety without hindering military operations. And Lieutenant Sarah Monroe's fighter wing, operating on the outer edges of the engagement zones, became renowned for their precise timing and unconventional tactics, striking where the enemy least expected and retreating just as unpredictably, creating a constant state of anxiety and uncertainty within the alien fleet. And as each encounter demonstrated the human capacity to adapt, think strategically, and improvise under pressure, even the most arrogant alien officers began to acknowledge that the humans were no ordinary species, that they combined courage, creativity, and ruthless efficiency in ways that defied alien military doctrine. And as Harrington planned the next series of engagements, incorporating intelligence from every skirmish and every damaged alien vessel, it became clear that humanity was not merely defending their home system, but reshaping the very dynamics of the conflict, asserting dominance through superior coordination, flexibility, and relentless pressure, while Earth's leaders coordinated diplomacy to buy time for the military, understanding that every tactical success not only saved lives, but strategically weakened the alien perception of control. And throughout the solar system, from orbital stations to the asteroid belts, humans proved again and again that being outnumbered did not mean being outmatched, that courage and innovation could level the playing field against an enemy that relied on intimidation, and that each small victory, each clever maneuver, and each demonstration of resilience contributed to a mounting sense of dread among the invaders, a realization that humanity's fight was not only unstoppable, but escalating in scope, intensity, and determination. And as Admiral Harrington surveyed the results of coordinated strikes, strategic feints, and technological adaptations, he understood that the battle for the solar system had become a proving ground for the human species, a demonstration of their capacity to overcome any obstacle, challenge any foe, and turn every disadvantage into a testament of their strength, ingenuity, and unyielding spirit. And that the galaxy, watching from afar, would soon learn that humanity's rise was inevitable, and that the miscalculation of underestimating them had set the stage for consequences that would reverberate across the stars. As the conflict intensified, human forces expanded their reach beyond the immediate solar system, deploying reconnaissance drones and strike teams to outer planetary territories and asteroid clusters, each mission designed to gather intelligence, disrupt alien supply chains, and test the boundaries of enemy strategy, while Admiral Harrington coordinated the simultaneous movements of multiple fleets, calculating trajectories, attack vectors, and timing down to the second to ensure that every maneuver amplified the overall impact of their operations. And aboard the flagship Endeavour, officers monitored alien communications, deciphering fragmented transmissions, and using the knowledge to anticipate fleet movements, while Captain Marcus Bell led daring boarding parties that infiltrated disabled alien vessels, recovering critical technology and capturing crew members whose insights allowed humans to predict enemy responses with increasing accuracy. And on Earth, scientists continued to adapt and refine human ship designs, incorporating alien energy propulsion systems, adaptive shielding, and advanced targeting arrays that further enhanced their tactical advantage. While back on the battlefield, Lieutenant Sarah Monroe's squadron executed a series of high-speed ambushes, drawing alien cruisers into gravitational traps created with slingshot maneuvers around moons and massive asteroids, destabilizing their formations and causing widespread confusion and across the alien hierarchy. Supreme Chancellor Varkin's frustration grew into outright panic as repeated failures, unexpected human strategies, and escalating losses demonstrated the gulf between their expectations and reality, prompting heated debates and desperate orders that only compounded the chaos. And on the human side, morale soared as each successful engagement reinforced the growing reputation of the species as unpredictable, adaptable, and relentless, a stark contrast to the rigid, hierarchical tactics of their opponents. And as the humans pushed further into contested sectors, they began implementing combined armed strategies that integrated orbital strikes, surface-based artillery, and coordinated fighter sweeps, overwhelming alien defenses in ways that were difficult to counter, while Earth's civilian infrastructure continued to provide crucial support, manufacturing supplies, reinforcing orbital stations, and maintaining communication networks that kept every unit connected and informed. And as the weeks of engagement progressed, reports of alien frustration, retreat, and miscalculations multiplied, creating opportunities for humans to exploit, striking decisively at critical choke points and using feints to lure enemy forces into vulnerable positions. And every action, from minor skirmishes to major fleet engagements, showcased humanity's ingenuity, resilience, and willingness to adapt, turning what was initially a desperate defense into a calculated offensive that destabilized the alien command and forced them to reconsider every assumption about human capability. And through each encounter, human leaders, pilots, and scientists worked in seamless coordination, anticipating enemy responses, improvising solutions, and exploiting weaknesses, while the alien forces, despite their overwhelming numbers and technological advantages, struggled to keep pace with the dynamic and unpredictable tactics of humanity. And as Admiral Harrington prepared for the next phase of operations, he understood that the human success was no accident, but a product of determination, intelligence, and a refusal to be constrained by conventional doctrine, and that each victory not only protected their home system, but sent a clear message across the galaxy. Humanity, though outnumbered, was unstoppable, adaptive, and poised to assert its dominance among the stars, and that the mistakes made by those who had underestimated them would have consequences far beyond a single battle, shaping the future of interstellar relations and establishing the humans as a force that could never be ignored. As the humans pressed deeper into contested space, they began to exploit patterns in the alien command structure, identifying inefficiencies and predictable responses that allowed them to strike with devastating precision, while Admiral Lucas Harrington oversaw a complex web of operations spanning multiple star systems, synchronizing attacks that targeted supply convoys, communications arrays, and forward operating bases, ensuring that every strike compounded confusion and disarray among the alien fleets. And Captain Marcus Bell's teams continued to execute high-risk maneuvers, infiltrating heavily defended sectors, disabling critical systems, and capturing key alien officers whose intelligence revealed further vulnerabilities that could be exploited, while scientists and engineers aboard orbital platforms adapted human vessels with hybrid technologies, combining human resilience with captured alien propulsion and energy systems, enhancing speed, firepower, and defensive capabilities to levels previously thought impossible. And on the battlefield, Lieutenant Sarah Monroe's squadron executed relentless harassment operations, drawing enemy cruisers into traps, ambushing them in asteroid fields, and using gravitational slingshot maneuvers to evade retaliation, causing alien ships to collide, misfire, or retreat, while morale of human crews surged with every victory, reinforcing the collective understanding that innovation, adaptability, and courage could overcome numerical disadvantage. And across the alien command hierarchy, Supreme Chancellor Varkin's frustration had turned to desperation as repeated failures, miscommunications, and unexpected human tactics undermined their carefully laid plans, prompting chaotic orders that only worsened their situation, while the humans, anticipating these reactions, manipulated every engagement to their advantage, exploiting hesitation and confusion to deliver precise, crippling blows. And on Earth, the civilian infrastructure continued to function as a critical support network, manufacturing weapons, repairing ships, analyzing data, and maintaining essential services that kept the human war machine operating at peak efficiency. And as the conflict escalated, humanity began deploying integrated strike operations that combined orbital bombardments, fighter sweeps, and surface-based artillery, creating multi-layered assaults that alien forces could not counter effectively, while intelligence from captured alien vessels revealed weaknesses in energy distribution, shield modulation, and weapon coordination, which human scientists immediately adapted into operational strategies, further tipping the balance. And as battles raged across multiple fronts, the aliens' overconfidence eroded, replaced by confusion, fear, and mounting losses, while the humans, though still outnumbered, demonstrated a relentless capacity to innovate, improvise, and coordinate at a level that alien commanders could not anticipate. And throughout every engagement, from minor skirmishes to decisive strikes, human leadership, discipline, and ingenuity created a cumulative effect that destabilized the alien fleets, setting the stage for even more daring operations. And as Admiral Harrington prepared the next sequence of maneuvers, he understood that humanity had moved beyond mere defense into a strategic offensive, leveraging intelligence, technology, and tactical brilliance to not only survive, but dominate, proving that outnumbered did not mean outmatched, and that every miscalculation by those who had underestimated humanity would contribute to a growing legacy of unstoppable resilience and galactic influence that would redefine interstellar power structures and ensure that humanity's emergence as a major force in the galaxy was both undeniable and irreversible. As the humans expanded their operations into the outer reaches of the alien-controlled territories, they combined reconnaissance, sabotage, and precision strikes in ways that kept the enemy constantly off balance, while Admiral Lucas Harrington coordinated fleets across multiple star systems, ensuring that every engagement leveraged the maximum possible advantage from human adaptability and ingenuity. And Captain Marcus Bell led boarding parties into crippled alien vessels, gathering intelligence and salvaging technology that provided insights into enemy propulsion systems, weapon capabilities, and tactical doctrine, which scientists and engineers rapidly adapted for human ships, enhancing speed, maneuverability, and firepower in ways that alien strategists could not predict, while Lieutenant Sarah Monroe orchestrated relentless fighter raids that forced enemy vessels into precarious positions near asteroids, planetary rings, and gravitational anomalies, disrupting their formations and leaving them vulnerable to coordinated human attacks. And on Earth, civilians continue to support the effort with extraordinary determination, producing supplies, repairing ships, and maintaining communications networks that allowed human forces to operate in perfect synchronization. And as each engagement unfolded, alien forces suffered mounting losses and confusion, their rigid command structures unable to adapt to the dynamic, unconventional tactics employed by humans, while morale among human crews soared, fueled by a growing awareness that every strategic innovation, every unexpected maneuver, and every daring strike demonstrated the species' unmatched resourcefulness, resilience, and willingness to take calculated risks that alien minds could not comprehend. And as weeks of continuous operations stretched across multiple systems, the humans' dominance became increasingly evident, not only through tactical victories, but also through the systematic dismantling of the enemy's logistical and operational capabilities, forcing alien commanders to react defensively rather than dictate engagements. And Supreme Chancellor Varkon, observing the growing chaos among their forces, struggled to maintain authority, issuing frantic, often contradictory orders as repeated human successes exposed flaws in alien strategy and highlighted the underestimation of Earth's inhabitants. While human leadership continued to exploit these weaknesses, adapting strategies in real time, executing feints, ambushes, and multi-layered attacks that destabilized even the most heavily fortified alien positions, and as human scientists integrated captured alien technology into their systems, fleets became faster, more resilient, and capable of sustained coordinated operations over vast distances, amplifying every tactical advantage. And as human forces pressed forward, disrupting supply lines, disabling command nodes, and outmaneuvering alien cruisers at every turn, it became painfully clear that the underdogs of Earth had transformed into a relentless, adaptive, and unstoppable force, capable not only of defending their homeworld, but projecting power across the galaxy, rewriting rules of engagement, and forcing alien civilizations to confront a species whose combination of ingenuity, courage, and unyielding determination made them a threat unlike any they had ever encountered. And throughout every encounter, the human capacity for innovation, coordination, and decisive action reinforced the growing realization that outnumbered did not mean outmatched, that the mistakes of those who underestimated humanity would echo through every star system, and that the fight for supremacy was only just beginning, with humanity proving repeatedly that they were unstoppable, resourceful, and destined to dominate the galactic stage. As the alien coalition attempted a final consolidation of its scattered fleets, drawing surviving warships and command vessels into a massive defensive formation near a strategically vital star nexus, humanity recognized a moment as the turning point of the entire conflict, and Admiral Lucas Harrington committed nearly every operational asset to a coordinated, system-wide offensive designed not merely to repel the invaders, but to shatter their belief in inevitable superiority, while Captain Marcus Bell's strike groups penetrated the outer perimeter using decoy signatures and false emissions, slipping through defensive screens to neutralize sensor arrays and communication hubs, blinding the alien armada at the exact moment Lieutenant Sarah Monroe led wave after wave of fighters in high-speed attack runs that forced the enemy into chaotic defensive maneuvers. And throughout the battle space, human vessels executed complex, fluid tactics, weaving between larger alien cruisers, exploiting blind spots, overloading shield harmonics with precisely tuned energy bursts, and using coordinated timing to isolate and destroy key command ships, while Earth-based strategists and scientists fed real-time calculations into fleet systems, adjusting trajectories, power distributions, and targeting solutions faster than the alien command hierarchy could process orders. And as the engagement intensified, the aliens attempted to impose rigid formations and overwhelming firepower, only to find their lines fractured by human feints, sudden vector changes, and synchronized multi-directional strikes that collapsed their cohesion. And within the alien command vessel, Supreme Chancellor Varkon watched in growing disbelief as centuries of doctrine failed against a species that refused to fight as predicted, whose pilots improvised in the midst of combat, whose officers delegated authority dynamically, and whose technology rapidly adapted and hybridized, matched or exceeded systems that had once seemed insurmountable. And as human boarding teams seized control of critical nodes, disabling shield generators and redirecting power flows, the alien fleet's defensive network began to unravel, while human capital ships advanced with disciplined precision, delivering concentrated volleys that shattered formations and forced retreats, and across the entire battle space. The psychological impact of human persistence became as decisive as their firepower, as alien crews confronted with an enemy that did not break, did not slow, and did not yield despite overwhelming odds, began to falter, their confidence eroding under the relentless pressure, while human crews, unified by purpose and driven by the knowledge that the fate of their world and their species depended on this moment, pushed forward with unwavering resolve. And as a massive engagement reached its climax, it became clear to every observer, human and alien alike, that the balance of power had irreversibly shifted, that the galaxy's long-held assumptions about hierarchy, dominance, and technological inevitability were collapsing under the force of human adaptability and determination, and that the once dismissed species from a small blue planet had proven itself not only capable of surviving against a vast interstellar coalition, but of outthinking, outmaneuvering, and ultimately overpowering it, setting the stage for a final reckoning that would define humanity's place among the stars. As the shattered remnants of the alien armada attempted to withdraw from the star nexus, their once orderly formations reduced to scattered, damaged vessels struggling to maintain cohesion, the full weight of humanity's transformation became undeniable, and Admiral Lucas Harrington, observing collapsing enemy lines, ordered a measured but relentless pursuit, not driven by vengeance, but by the necessity of ensuring that the lesson being taught would be impossible to forget, while Captain Marcus Bell's strike groups disabled fleeing command ships with precise, controlled fire, cutting off any chance of coordinated retreat and forcing isolated alien captains to confront the reality of their defeat. And Lieutenant Sarah Monroe led the final interception runs, her pilots executing flawless maneuvers that boxed in the remaining cruisers, compelling them to power down weapons and surrender rather than face total destruction. And within the alien command vessel, Supreme Chancellor Varkon stood in silence as reports confirmed the irreversible collapse of their campaign. Every assumption about human weakness, every projection of easy conquest, and every calculation based on numerical superiority now exposed as catastrophic misjudgments, and as human boarding teams secure control of the final resistance, they transmitted a clear, calm message across all frequencies, stating that Earth sought no extermination, no blind annihilation, but would never again accept dismissal, intimidation, or subjugation. And this declaration, delivered not with rage but with unshakable certainty, carried more weight than any threat, because it was backed by the undeniable proof of human capability. And across the galaxy, observers who had once regarded humanity as a minor, insignificant species now watched in stunned silence as data streams, battle recordings, and intercepted communications revealed the full scope of what had occurred. A smaller, underestimated civilization had confronted a vast interstellar power and, through adaptability, coordination, and relentless will, had forced it to retreat. And on Earth, as news of the decisive outcome spread, there was no wild celebration, only a deep, collective understanding that a threshold had been crossed, that humanity had proven not only its right to survive, but its ability to shape the balance of power among the stars. And as diplomats, scientists, and military leaders began preparing for the new era that would follow, one defined by cautious respect rather than arrogant dismissal, the implications rippled outward, altering alliances, strategies, and long-held beliefs throughout known space. And within the halls of the Alien Council, humble representatives finally acknowledged what their fallen fleets had demonstrated in battle, that humans were not reckless primitives nor fragile newcomers, but a resilient, inventive, and formidable species whose strength lay not merely in weapons or numbers, but in the ability to learn, adapt, and refuse to surrender under any circumstances. And so the war that had begun with mockery and overconfidence ended with sober recognition, as the galaxy came to understand that the small blue world called Earth had produced a people who, when threatened, became something far greater than anyone had imagined, a force that could be outnumbered yet never outmatched, challenged yet never broken, and underestimated only once, because from that moment forward, humanity's place among the stars was no longer in question, and the lesson was etched into memory of every civilization that watched the conflict unfold, that those who took the fight to the humans would find, too late, that they had awakened a species that could not be stopped.